if you kind of dive into the psychology of money, a lot of our beliefs about ourselves and the world around us and how it works are kind of developed before we're 8 years old. So if you overhear something, especially like chronic stress in a household or even like micro traumas, like particular events that you witness, like that can really shape your beliefs about money and carry you through to adulthood. And, you know, without intervention like therapy or, you know, work on yourself, like that can stay with someone till they die, which is wild.
Hello and welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast. I'm Tash and I'm here with Millie. I'm very excited for this episode because you are a founder of a mental health charity.
I am. Thanks for having me. Bit of a different episode, I guess, to what you're used to.
I feel like it relates really well though, because we're going to chat through like what it's like starting a charity, how you even fund a charity, if you can even pay yourself from something like that, how that works, because I'm very curious. But also the link between money and mental health is so big.
Exactly. Yeah, let's do it.
So first, money win or money loss of the week?
I'm always on the lookout for money wins. It's like I thought it was a quirky little habit or trait of mine, but as I've gotten older, I think it's like a really useful thing to be resourceful. And you'll probably hear why I've become resourceful based on my early career and starting a charity. But my money win for the week would be getting groceries delivered via Woolies. I just picked Woolies and signed up at their kind of rewards program when it was half price. So I think it's like $35 a year to get groceries delivered for free. And as someone who hates going to the grocery store, it costs me mentally too much to go to the grocery store. So to get the groceries delivered, and I live in, you know, up the stairs, you know, in a little unit. So it's like, it appears at your doorstep for $35 a year. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. Such a win. Yeah.
And I feel like you save so much money because you're not buying random things.
Yes, exactly. You don't splurge on random stuff that you don't even need, and you're not panic buying. You're just like, carefully. And you also get dopamine, I think, from like online shopping your groceries, even though it's like a bag of rice. It's like, oh, yay, add to cart.
Yeah, I love because you can compare like the unit price easier to see what's the cheapest. And I do find just scrolling through Uber Eats, even if I don't order anything, I feel like groceries gets the same vibe. But you're like, oh, I can see all these different things that I will probably never buy, but yay.
Yeah, and there's also this a bit niche, but there's like this save feature where you can save products that you're kind of like looking out for specials for. And then it's just in a list every time you go in, I check it because sometimes they're half price and you're like, okay, great. This is the week I'm going to buy washing tablets.
Yes. I love it. You've got all the hacks.
Yeah, love it.
Tell us a little bit about your charity. What is it called and what do you actually do?
Yeah, so my charity is called All Knd, and coming up on 4 years now next month since we were incorporated as a charity and we're officially able to, you know, do business as a charity. And I started it during COVID. Sorry to trigger people, but it was also a pretty dark time for me. If you're feeling the same at the mention of that word, I'd come back from the States and I was a travel blogger. Like that was my full-time income.
Oh, wow.
And that was great. I personally think it would be a lot harder to break into that career now because when I was doing it, it was like the boom of the Instagram influencer and it was static photos only and it wasn't owned by Facebook, so you didn't have to pay for ads to, you know, scale your reach or anything. And I grew really quickly and I just decided to like start making money off that because I studied journalism and media comms, and one of the things that they really drilled into you is building a personal brand. And it's something that I definitely advocate for. And I think it's opened a lot of doors for me, having that personal brand. But anyway, COVID happened and I had to move home because travel blogging obviously wasn't a thing. So my income went from, you know, to what it was, like earning really good money for 4 hours a day kind of work, maybe less, and doing something that I really loved and enjoyed, especially as someone in my early 20s. Like it doesn't really get better than that, to having no income and moving back in with my parents and, you know, facing this new reality. And so I'd actually already started to kind of look into my journey as like, you know, a young person with mental illness, and I was already on that path. So when I got home, I basically decided to set up that charity. And one of our board directors is a psychologist, a developmental psych up in Brisbane. And so she's basically been with me from the start, building out our programs. And the one thing that we offer in terms of products, even though we do it for free because we're a charity, is peer mental health first aid training. So we teach young Aussies how to support each other safely through those varying levels of mental health crises because we know that they go to each other first. not adults, yet no one's kind of trusting them with the information and the language and the skills that they need to be able to support each other safely. So that was really important, and that remains a key part of like my founder story, my lived experience when I was younger, and, you know, our offering as a charity 4 years later. And then we've recently started to build on that. We're offering this impact event series called Cause Club, where Cause Club. Yeah. So it's a cause-based connection event model. So, you know, there'll be a roster of monthly events where we do a different type of volunteering for a particular cause. We're doing animal welfare in August.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah. So that's, really just like building connection infrastructure for young people who are the loneliest demographic, if you can believe that.
I remember messaging you on Instagram when I saw the Cause Club, because I was like, this is the coolest idea ever. I feel like so many people want to volunteer, but it's hard to find out where to start. You don't want to commit, and you also want to do it for a purpose as well. So it seems like such a fun idea.
Yeah, exactly. Just making it accessible again.
Yeah. So many questions in that. Yeah. Going back a little bit, what was your family life like with money? Did you learn about money growing up?
Yeah, I think so. Interestingly, I feel like my scarcity mindset in terms of money comes from not only my kind of early career and living overseas by myself, like fully supporting myself and having to make every dollar count, but also potentially some conversations that I was a part of or overheard as a child. And if you kind of dive into the like the psychology of money, a lot of our beliefs about ourselves and the world around us and how it works are kind of developed before we're 8 years old. So if you overhear something, especially like chronic stress in a household or even like micro traumas, like particular events that you witness, like that can really shape your beliefs about money and carry you through to adulthood. And, you know, without intervention like therapy or, you know, work on yourself, like that can stay with someone till they die, which is wild.
Even just the language we use around money as well, like, oh, we can't afford that. Like the
money doesn't grow on trees.
Yes. Yeah. The always like the scarcity mindset in your home can be really stressful, and people can carry that through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there was that like chronic stress. I come from a privileged background and I had access to private school education, and I got to, you know, I didn't have to miss out on stuff. So it wasn't that. I think I was just a really sensitive child that was chronically anxious about so many different things. So I would kind of clutch on to, you know, my parents' worries and make them my own. And, you know, like every family does, well, not every, but, you know, a lot of families go through, you know, waves of like stability, and then, oh, we might have to kind of tighten the belt, or, you know, we've got 3 kids in private school, you know, like it's a very normal narrative. But I kind of like really clung on to some of those stories about how scarce money can be and the real world implications of that. And I really it rocked my sense of safety as a child. And my parents absolutely did not mean to do that to me or to put that onto me. But that's just what you absorb. And so I feel like I'm still battling, and probably my career choice absolutely does not help with this. I'm still battling a bit of a scarcity mindset.
Okay, I was going to ask you, a very good saver now?
100%. Yeah. I'm like a squirreler. Like I've always been, and obviously particularly through my early career, I would save whatever I could. And I've tried to be really intentional about decisions, especially when they're kind of more less about, you know, rent, like hierarchy of needs stuff, food, shelter, all of that. If it's like buying new clothes, like I'm a thrift store girl. Like I don't like spending money on myself because I'm like, okay, but I can get this way cheaper, better quality, you know, like I'm just a bit resourceful like that.
Yeah, always mindful of it.
Yes, always.
How did you find starting a charity then with that? Because I found starting a business quite challenging because you have to spend money on things, and it's hard to switch that mindset when money leaving is like, oh gosh, do I really need to do this? But you just kind of have to. Yeah,
that was really hard. I was always kind of like the feeling of, or the fear, I guess, around it not working, the business not working, the charity not working, and me betting on the fact that one day I will be able to get paid a salary was a really good driver for me. And everyone has different fears that drive them into action. And mine was judgment from others and money, like survival. Like I wanted to be able to pay my rent and eat good food and, you know, the basics kind of thing. And also prove to my parents that being self-employed worked out as well. That's a real driver for me. But yeah, I think I had to make it work. And I think I was conscious of that too. And I was like, well, this is kind of the best motivation I could ever get. And so I spent my own money first, as, you know, I guess a little different to when you're starting your own business. Like, yes, eventually that money will be yours. In a charity, that money is not mine. So basically I had to, and I didn't know this at the time, but I had to pay myself back a loan of like $16,000 that I spent when I wasn't working, like during COVID. So that was obviously really scary. But then, you know, when I had access to an accountant, they were like, actually, no, this is how you do it properly and you need to pay yourself back for that. And it all needs to be squared away, especially in a charity setting. Everything needs to be super above board and transparent. But yeah, I had to keep kind of battling, I guess, with a very, very minimum salary.
Yeah. So you said you're earning good money. What was that good money back when you were a travel blogger?
Travel blogger. So I probably could have been earning a lot more, but I would be paid maybe like $1,800 US for a static image post.
Oh my God, amazing. Back then, yeah.
So back then, yeah, because I mean, it was very easy to get engagement. I would get like 5,000 likes and hundreds of comments. So the engagement was really good. So you felt confident in charging. You know, I had a manager who would organize all that for me. But yeah, especially in US dollars, I was like, this is great because I'm going to move back to Australia one day and, you know, this US dollar is really going to work for me.
How much did you have saved roughly before you came back?
Oh gosh, probably not too much, honestly. I hadn't started in investing. I hadn't really thought about any future money decisions. I hadn't paid myself super, didn't know that was illegal at the time, you know, all of those things. And also managing, like, I would do some work with Aussie brands as well, but I was also allowed to work in the US as well. So I had like 2 bank accounts. It was very confusing for me. I only consolidated all of that a few years ago. But I think when I left America, I probably only had about 20 grand in the bank.
Yeah, okay. And then you came back and you're like,
and spent all of it on starting a charity.
Crazy. How do you even go about starting something like that?
Honestly, being back in Australia, I don't know if you find this. I know you have your frustrations with like the small business support from the government and things like that, but I find that it's so much easier to talk to real humans here who can support you through, you know, different like legislation and incorporation structures. And somehow I got connected with some law firm in Sydney that did it pro bono. They just did our entire kind of incorporation.
How did you go about that? Did you like publish it online and say, this is what I'm looking for?
No. I actually spoke to someone on the phone at like the ACNC and they were like, you didn't hear this from me, but here's a couple of resources we recommend. You didn't hear it from me, but I would choose the second one. And I was like, okay, great. And then I just did an application online and then they just got back to me. It was like this automatic kind of assignment of pro bono law firms. So I'm assuming that hopefully still exists because law firms have to do a certain amount of pro bono work. So I'm sure they just do like a bunch of charity registrations and stuff for people.
Yeah, I have heard of that because I have a friend who's started up a not-for-profit. Well, they've got the structure, but that was something they got done pro bono as well. And
nice.
Before that, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It works for both parties. Yeah.
How did you meet was it the clinical psychologist?
Yes.
Was that a friend of yours? How did you get in touch with them?
I actually cold emailed her because I was looking for like well-matched psychologists on Psychology Today, which you can do if you want to go see a therapist basically. And I just did that search with different criteria and filters. And yeah, she runs a practice up in Brisbane and she's been in the educational space and now sees young people every day. So, but most importantly, she was a really good culture fit because not every psychologist is going to work with the All Knd tone of voice. And if you look at our Instagram, you'll understand what I mean. But she's just been incredible and really let me kind of, just steer the ship. And I think it's been nice for her to be able to scale her work because as a practitioner, you can only see, 8 people a day or whatever it is. But with, this charity, her work has been, or her training that she's written with some help of researchers and other psychs around her and her team by thousands and thousands of young Australians. And those young people are better off because of her work. So it's been a nice way to scale that. And she didn't ask for payment.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so she did that pro bono. And since then we've been able to kind of pay for particular trainings and stuff for some of her staff. And when we do a project with her later this year. I'd love to be able to actually pay for her time.
Yay, how exciting.
Great. Yeah, full circle.
So you got it incorporated. That's the language you use. You found another director. Do you need 3 directors?
Exactly,
Who was your
so
third?
that you can technically vote someone off the island.
Scary.
Yeah, exactly. I could go anytime.
Oh, crazy. Who was the third one then?
It was another lady from Brisbane.
Mm-hmm. Like another psychologist or?
No, she was more in the business kind of advisory space.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about having a volunteer board. So you've got to have a minimum of 3 volunteer board directors. Some bigger charities, of course, have paid board directors, which, could be really helpful, to be honest. But, minimum of 3. And you can kind of look out for, okay, well, where are our skills lacking and where could we have this kind of almost like a mentor advisor? And I think you only have to meet like once a year technically, but I was meeting like once a month. I was like, okay, here's the next problem. Here's the next challenge. What have you got for me kind of thing, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What did you even start with first in terms of getting revenue or building the first product or education session?
Basically, I didn't really go to market or really test the market even before I'd built the thing, which is like, obviously a no-no. Like I think everyone now is like or go to the market with an MVP, and then if you've got enough interest or you've got enough pre-orders or you've got enough sign-ups, then you build the course or whatever it is or the product and then you launch it. That's a lesson I've learned the hard way. But interestingly, we charged initially $25 to do the training because you get a certificate in peer-to-peer mental health first aid. And I was like, that seems appropriate. And so I think overall we made like $500. That's it. Yeah, because very soon after we cut the paywall and we're like, this doesn't make sense that the end user has to pay for this training that they should be getting in school for free anyway. You know, like what if a 16-year-old who's not working wants to do this training, they don't have a credit card or whatever, like I want them to be able to access that. That was the whole point, to make it accessible. So then I was like, okay, cool, I'll go to, different schools, unis, and get them to kind of license it. And so that worked a couple of times, but it was just such hard work trying to do that. So then I gave that up and started moving into partnerships with commercial brands and big tech. And that's been the most lucrative for sure.
Yeah, it's good having that experience from your previous stuff where you know how to work with brands and how to pitch it to them.
Exactly. Yeah. Having skills as a content creator serves you in any business, I say. Yeah.
You have to wear so many different hats and it's a very interesting world, but you learn a lot very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. You're so many different team members all at once and you do a little bit of everything. You're a jack of all trades, but at the same time, you kind of build up all of those skills because you're the only one doing them.
And now you're a Lululemon ambassador, which I'm very envious of. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's actually not paid.
Oh, interesting. But you get free clothes?
Yes, you do get free clothes, and they host you for like all of these kind of retreats. Like I went to South Korea with them for World Mental Health Day. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That was really cool. Amazing. So yeah, and they're not kind of, I guess they let you do your thing. Like they're not like hounding you every month for like certain social posts or anything. They're kind of like, this is your story. It's up to you how you tell it. We'll support you. So that's been really, really good.
When did you start properly paying yourself from the charity? Or do you even pay yourself now?
Yeah, so I do pay myself now. The charity pays me now, and I don't actually get to choose that amount. That comes directly from industry standards, like the median basic. Well, it wouldn't even be the median. It would be like a really low end of the median. So I started with a salary of $40,000 a year, excluding super, and now I'm on just over 100K, which is like so exciting for me because while it's not technically industry standard, it still feels like it's something that I started, and it's kind of come full circle because, at the start I was like, I need to prove to myself and prove to my parents especially, who, like my dad, I will never forget, on the phone one time when I was living in the States, he was like, when are you maybe going to look at getting like a full-time kind of thing? And, parents want the best for you and they want your safety and stability, of course. And I was like so upset at the time, but it really, I guess, instilled that kind of fire in my belly to be like, you know what, this is going to end up being a full-time job.
Yeah, this is a real job.
This is a real job. Exactly right. And, on top of that, like with a charity, I find it hard because I have no equity in it. So even if this grew to like a $10 million organization, I would never be paid any kind of founder equity. If I left, I get nothing. I am just an employee. I am only paid at a cap of the industry standard, not for the level of impact that I create.
How do you feel about that longer term for your financial future? Like, it's great that you're doing this, but what's the long-term plan? Like $100,000 is still good. Like, it is a good salary, but longer term, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I do speaking around it too. So I think in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm not getting any equity from this. And yes, the charity is benefiting from me as the kind of face of this and the story and the human and the founder. But at the same time, I benefit a lot from the charity as well. Like, it's gotten me into a lot of rooms and it gives me a real kind of reason to show up in spaces such as like Parliament House and, you know, get me into spaces to advocate for youth and say, hey, this is what I've built with the people who have contributed to that massive collaborative effort of the charity and where it is now. I get to kind of ride on the coattails of that too. So looking ahead, I want to kind of grow that kind of speaking and advocacy work that I do outside of the charity. But I'd love to, I guess, kind of consult on like different founders who are starting impact-led for-profits or not-for-profits and kind of help them shape their storytelling as a founder.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I meet so many people in the impact space who didn't go to communication school and weren't a content creator before this. Like, all of that comes very naturally to me. And I've refined it over the years because I've had to, and I've seen the success of that. But for other people, you know, they have so many questions about like, how do you even start that? How do you feel comfortable posting all your wins on your public Instagram page? But there is a real payoff to that work as well, in terms of founders doing that and seeing how their business or their charity or their for-purpose work can really benefit off that and like skyrocket them into spaces that they might not have even seen themselves. So I think I'd love to move into that space pretty soon and like thinking about things like, you know, I have endo, so I've had to start thinking about things like mat leave as well. Like, what does that look like and where do I want to go after I return to work? Like, am I still going to be full-time at this charity? And, you know, if I have mouths to feed, and of course I'm lucky to have a partner in my life story as well. But yeah, looking at what that looks like too. So it's I'm at a real crossroads because I'm seeing like a bit of a compounding, I guess, of my efforts over the last 4+ years of like absolutely like hustling my ass off, like really sacrificing a lot, not just financially, but like mentally as well. I've seen the compound effect of that now, and, you know, people are like, wow, you're doing so many things and that was really cool and that was really successful. But I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I've achieved a few of my goals now. Like, what does the next kind of chapter look like and how can I actually set myself up financially as well?
Yeah, it's really challenging when it's like such a privileged problem to have, but it's challenging when you've got so many options now and you've built that up to be that way.
Yeah, that's like the paradox of choice. Like, the scope is too big, and for a creative person, that's like the worst thing.
Yeah, and especially when you know that you can do so much, it's like, well, what one do I pick now?
Yeah, exactly. Although the financial security of that still scares me though, like having to kind of start a business again.
I feel like I can just see like charging lots to sit on fancy boards now that you've got all the experience of being a director.
I would love to be the ideas girl, you know, like I'm done kind of like doing the work. I want to tell other people how to do it.
I feel that all the time. I feel like I've got so many good ideas, but I can't be bothered doing them.
Yes, exactly.
But I can hype other people up and give them ideas.
Yeah, pay me to be the ideas girl.
Yeah. New job title. Yeah. Ideas consultant.
Exactly. Yeah.
That'd be fun. We can start our own Deloitte or something.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be nice.
Seen you advertising to hire people, which is very exciting. How big is the team now?
So in January, we had 2 part-timers join us in kind of junior roles, and they've been amazing. One of them's kind of her role is mission support officer, and she's like doing many things at once. She works as a producer as well at a theatre company, so she's used to being handed like a bunch of random things and being like, okay, cool, let's get this done. And then the other is a marketing coordinator who kind of does everything social media related, which is obviously a huge part of our charity because we're completely digital and the way young people now access our training is via social media. And then we also have a more senior person down in Melbourne who has been with me for a really long time and started with like 4 hours a week because she is more expensive, because she's senior and, you know, has that experience and kind of sense of gravitas and authority. So having her like with me in meetings has been so helpful. And she's a really good people person. And I sometimes find like the small talk at the start of meetings really difficult.
Yeah,
it's really exhausting.
Corporate that well, but some people are good at corporating.
She's really good at that, but it's genuine. She's amazing. So yeah, that's our little team of 4. And then we have a contractor in like graphic design, and we now have an accountant. And yeah, it's still really small, but I honestly I don't feel the need. I don't think I'm a good manager.
You don't think you're a good manager?
No, I don't. Because
you seem like you would be a really good manager.
I think I do my best, and I think I'm a compassionate, empathetic, warm human being, or I hope I am. But I have never worked in a corporate space. I haven't been employed by anyone else. So I don't actually have anything to copy or mirror.
I think that's good though.
Yeah, but I don't know what people do in an office from 9 to 5. I'm like, how much work do you actually get done? That's a real stressor of mine as, you know, a self-employed person. No one's there to kind of tell me this is what's on your plate for now. And then, you know, let me know when you're done with that. I have a list I'm assuming miles and miles long, so that no one day could you ever do enough. There's always something else you could be doing. So I'm used to that kind of work. Whereas for people who have had bosses before who kind of manage their workflows and projects and things like that, I don't know what that looks like because I've never experienced that for myself. So thankfully I'm kind of leaning on our more senior person in Melbourne who's got some experience in that. But yeah, it's really interesting that I'm shit, now I need to be a manager?
Yes.
What? How do I do that?
Yeah, I've hired someone full-time maybe 6 months ago now, and it's been interesting. And I hired someone who could deal with the chaos because I do change my mind all the time, and you want someone who can kind of roll with the ideas and what's going on at the time. But she's been a good balance of organizing things for me, but also can change with whatever I'm doing as well. And I think she's really excited and seems to love her job and is really excited about everything. But I think it's good to not have that experience so you can just run a workplace a bit differently, what works for everyone and what can make someone excited, and things change and it flows differently. And of course, there'll always be endless things to do. But I think it's good to not just be another corporate boss.
That's true. That's a good way of looking at it.
I'll have to meet your employees and ask them what they think of you being a boss.
Yeah, we'll do a survey.
Yeah. A question I see online all the time: does money buy happiness?
I think money buys stability. Well, I don't just think that. I know that because financial stress is mental stress, you know, and that's something we've seen with young people who 1 in 2 of them are chronically anxious in Australia about their future. 86% of young people have had to give up on their dreams because of the cost of living.
That's a massive stat.
That's massive. Yeah. That's kind of really tragic, actually.
Yeah.
And I think we're grieving, I guess, the loss of these more traditional personal milestones like buying a house and having children, and maybe even giving up starting businesses and things like that. But kind of, I guess, at the core of it all, the financial pressure is so ambient and chronic that it's really, I guess, disrupting people's lives. You know, there was a study done that found, it was by a few major universities, and they found that level of chronic financial stress can reduce your IQ by up to 13 points, which is equivalent to a full night's sleep.
I saw it. Was that the Princeton study or something? Yeah, that's just so wild.
It is. So, you know, if you kind of compound all of those pressures and you expect young people to show up to, you know, work and school and have to do so much more with their time than their parents or older generations have had to, it all just kind of combines together into this perfect storm.
Yeah, and I think we're just so much more aware with social media. I can't imagine being in high school now and seeing the war in Gaza and all this stuff online all the time. It's hard to care about maths if you're watching the housing crisis and all of these things on your feed all the time.
Yeah,
How can people overcome that? Do you have strategies for them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that type of thing's called vicarious trauma. Like you said, our brains aren't designed to see that level and that scale of tragedy that many times a day. You know, if we're thinking about newspapers, maybe we saw it once a day in the morning.
Yeah, even if your dad was reading it, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So the only way you can kind of, I guess, address that is by limiting your exposure. Like, I guess, switching your mindset from thinking it has access to me to I will choose when I access it. Although it's really hard because, like, you know, you go on Instagram and you just want to see what your friends are doing or your favorite creators, and then, you know, your feed's just filled with posts around Palestine. So it's obviously a lot easier said than done. But I think just like being aware of the fact that it is a very real experience. Like, my thing is, of course, the Gaza stuff at the moment, but animal shelter stuff, like, I see that and I immediately am like, I wish I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And I have to put my phone down, and I feel like I really feel it so hard. And I'm like, far out. I hate that exposure, that chronic exposure to devastation.
Yeah.
And I just have to put my phone down, and I put my phone away at 7 p.m. and I close the door, and I'm like, you don't get access to me until after I've had my breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get better with that because I do. Sometimes I'll scroll and I'll see something and I'm like, that can't be real. And you Google it and it is real. And then you kind of get stuck in a loop of just being like, how can this happen?
Yeah.
How do I fix this?
And
how
you can't
can I
sleep.
help? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need better phone boundaries as well.
Yeah, we all do, honestly.
The other thing I think is really hard is when you jump online and you see everyone's in Europe this winter. Like, I find that can be quite challenging for people in their finances and feeling like you're always missing out and people are ahead of you all the time.
Absolutely. And, you know, this like financial strain that we're all feeling, young people particularly, with the cost of living, it's also a bit of this idea of a social recession as well. It's actually making us lonelier because we can't afford necessarily to buy into that bachelorette party or that like event that requires a $50 deposit. We can't afford to go to the movies. You know, everything's more expensive now. You know, girls' trips are not making it out of the group chat anymore because no one can afford to go. We're working and we don't have any paid time off. Plus, it's so expensive. So, like, we're lonelier because of that. And we've kind of reduced our social time to just catch ups to like coffee, which is fine, but we're not making new memories.
Yeah, we're not experiencing things together anymore.
Yeah. So that's like a real shame.
Yeah. I've seen some people say that the cost of living crisis isn't real. What's your response to that?
I mean, they must be really, really, really privileged and wealthy.
Yeah.
And they must not have any friends or family that they care about who are having to choose between feeding their kids and medication or clothing. And to that, I would say, open your eyes and hear some stories.
Yeah, leave your bubble.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very, very narrow-minded and uncompassionate approach to looking after our country and our people who are struggling, not by choice, but by circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know people said that.
Oh, yes, it's people in the property space. There's a few of them who've gone kind of viral for saying the cost of living crisis isn't real and Sydney is just only for rich people. If you can't afford it, then sorry.
Yeah, see, that's just gaslighting.
Yeah.
That's just rage bait.
Yeah, yeah.
They just want views.
Yep, yeah.
Wow.
I like your take better. Be more empathetic.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
And start say it's real. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just acknowledging that is very validating for people.
I know there's so many people out there who want to do good things for the world. They might want to start like an impact business or start a not-for-profit. Do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, I would say purpose and pay is possible. I think you just have to prepare for it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, you have to remember that money is mental health too, and you can't pour from an empty cup. So, like, how deep are you willing to go into debt/stress? You know, like, how deep are you willing to go where your mental health suffers? Because if your mental health is suffering, then how are you going to lead a for-purpose movement or mission or brand or product? Yeah, because the world can't benefit from you when you're not in a space to be able to give anything to others. So it's almost like, what's the point?
Yeah,
you know?
like you were saying the study as well, you don't want to be trying to operate this charity if you're operating at 13 IQ points less. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I've tried to quell a bit of my guilt around taking a salary from a charity with, because, you know, when I think of this charity and, you know, normal business expenses like paying for a night in Melbourne when we're meeting our board directors and we have, you know, like I book like 12 meetings on one day, you know, and like, okay, I'm staying overnight. This is a business expense that the charity should pay for. It can't really come out of my pocket anymore. But there's guilt in that for me because, you know, the money in our charity bank account comes from businesses and philanthropic arms and donors, like everyday people like you and I and your listeners. And I'm like, oh gosh, this like $20 Uber ride, like how can that come out of that pool? But I think the idea that, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if I'm not in this role, then they'll have to pay someone probably double what I'm being paid to do the same thing. So that's also helped with a bit of this like charity employee guilt, I guess.
Yeah, and like reminding yourself that it's not sustainable. Like if you were doing for free, it would only be maybe a year and then you'd have to go back to another job.
Yeah, exactly. And then the charity wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So
do you find the judgment quite hard around that? Because I know people have very strong views on charities and how they spend their money, and some are like charities waste money. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel fine. I don't think we waste any money because I'm making the financial decisions mostly with board approval, of course, and I'm a very resourceful person.
I think it's just like people assume like money should go to 100% to the cause without understanding that you do need to pay people to do things, and that's part of the ethical side of it as well. Yeah,
that's a misconception. People are always like, well, how do you get paid? And it's like, well, a charity needs to have employees because how else do you expect it to run?
Yeah.
Like if I'm employed full time, I don't have any other time to go do another job or another business, So I agree. But like I said, all of these decisions that I've made really mindfully and intentionally, and by nature. I'm not a big spender. I'm super resourceful. So, today I said to Emily next to me, like, should we pay $20 for like fast shipping to get this in time? Oh, I don't know. She's like, just pay for it, Like I am the best person you could ask to run a charity's funding pool.
Very mindful. Well, it seems you've done incredibly well in 4 years to grow to where you are now.
Yeah, I'm scrappy. Yeah. But I think that's like what you've got to be, and that's creative problem solving.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
What's your short and long-term vision for the charity?
I see us heading into more of the youth advocacy space, because mental health is not disconnected from climate, from housing, from education. And so, you and I were down in Parliament House together, and that was really cool because we got access to so many ministers. And I could have asked every single one of them, how are your decisions impacting young people? Because that is what they're working with, and that establishes their level of stability and safety and therefore mental well-being. So that's something that I'm like slowly getting into and really excited about. And of course, through this new Cause Club model that we're doing, I want to scale up those volunteering events, and eventually I want to become the largest database in Australia of young people who want to do good things together, one local event at a time, because that's how we kind of build and practice a level of mental well-being. There's no use us just training people, and teaching them the language and the skills that they need to support each other if they don't have anyone in their circle to reach out to when shit hits the fan. So we also, beyond awareness and information and education, we need that connection piece, and we need to be creating spaces that enable us to kind of practice that. We call it good mate behaviour.
Good mate behaviour. I love that. Yeah, like more of the prevention, I guess. Like it's great to be able to talk to someone when they're in crisis, but how do we reduce it as much as we can? And it'll always be around. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We definitely need more funding in prevention.
More funding to any ministers listening, or ministers' staffers.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Do you invest?
Yes, as of almost 2 years ago now, through a managed ETF fund, like robo-investing, like I set and forget. And I am so grateful that I did that 2 years ago. They say like the best time is yesterday, but the second best is today. And oh my gosh, I wish I could go back. And I'm sure lots of people say that to you as someone who invested when they were 18. Mm-hmm. And you've seen this, like the benefits of that. So that's been awesome. That's just through StockSpot. And then StockSpot also opened an arm for not-for-profits. So I asked the board members, I was like, hey guys, like I'm in this personally and I've seen awesome results and I'm so happy that I made this call. Let's do it for the charity. And so we've got like half of our savings, which isn't that much, but it's still something, like actually doing something. Our money's working for us, which is really cool.
Amazing. I've never really thought about that. But like, of course, that makes sense to invest the charity's money so you can keep, like, it's more sustainable.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Exactly.
That's so cool. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a fun chat. If anyone is interested in your charity or you, where can they find you?
Head to ALLKND.org and you'll find our socials. And then I'm on Instagram at Millie Rose Bannister. But this has been so fun. You've asked me so many interesting questions that nobody has ever asked me before.
Oh, I love that. Yay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invests or me at Anna Christina.
The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invest and Anna Christina from Pearler. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you. This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorized representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Pearler, who is an authorized representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging.